Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. This is News 44 TV, and I'm Rob Charney. I'm here with John Manajastic and our producer, John Charney. And thank you for joining in on the show and watching, and try to keep encouraging more people to watch. We'd like to get our numbers up, and we'd like to, we're going to talk about some interesting things. We've got a good show today, and there's been some headline stuff that's been going on that I think it's important that maybe we talk a little bit. And I'm hoping that any of the ladies out there, and particularly anybody with a teenage daughter, I would really like to get on the phone, because I really want a young mother's view of what the FDA went ahead and ruled today. And that has to do with the morning after pill. And the FDA made a ruling that any female 15 years old and older, without question, without anything, can go to the pharmacy counter, ask for the pill, and walk out. No prescription, no doctor, no parent. And I find that kind of interesting, because they're not an adult until 18. So now we're allowing 15-year-olds to take a medication that I assume has some serious side effects. This can't be just a simple pill like an aspirin, and it has to have some medical problems along with it. And now you're letting a 15-year-old make a decision, and it bothers me a little bit.
Yes, there is no doubt about that, being a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
On the other side, I think you and I would say, and this is the other side of the question, is the only reason she's going to take it is because she's had sex, and that in and on itself is 15 years old, too old, too young, but.
I'm not even going on to that side of it. That's even another discussion, and I think it's too young, but I'm not making that decision for the parent or the child, as far as having sex goes. And I don't think it's right. I think it's too young, but it really bothers me when we start taking a medication with the possible side effects that this medication must have that could possibly put the child in jeopardy, right?
One could be ill for a day.
Okay, well, but, all right, so it does have some kind of side effect. And we all know we're all not alike. We don't all react to the same drugs exactly the same. And if it's not watched by a doctor, it just seems wrong to me.
Well, it is wrong. It is wrong, but I got to look at all 360 here. There is wrong on both sides, okay? Because there is no need unless there is a need for this. And, to you and I, it's definitely like, that's crazy. But in reality, it unfortunately happens all the time, which is, that's a sociological issue. Here's the thing. It is OTC. But I am sure, or I would hope, and, this is a long leap of faith on my part, that a pharmacist, because it's OTC, that there would be a thing that if somebody comes in and asks for it, you need to go get the pharmacist. And it's not without consultation. In other words, the pharmacist is going to say, okay, you know what you're asking for, you know what it does. It may have this side effect. I don't think it's just give me the morning after pill, here's my money, and I walk out the door. I would hope we are in a more responsible society than that. It just flatly, and I don't think it's right, and you know where I am on this issue. I actually think it is a Obama and I don't, how I don't like to blame Obama, but this way, it's an FDC response to 4 states outlawing abortion.
Right.
But 15 is like, that's okay. I can see what you're saying, but if you made it 18, the age of majority, and I think that they're probably instructed, but at the end of the day, you have to look at something else.
We got a call.
Who's that?
I don't know. Hi, this is Rob and John. What do you have? Uh-oh, you're listening to your computer.
Hello?
Hi. Turn your computer microphone
And
off.
it's kind of a time delay.
Yeah, you have to turn your computer off.
Turn it
Or
off.
mute it.
Just mute your computer.
I'm trying to do that.
Okay, lower right-hand corner, you know, the gadgets. There you
Okay.
go.
There you go.
Peace came to the
It's
neighborhood.
just like
Kind of funny
real.
to hear two guys talking about the morning after pill when you
Right.
have no first-hand experience.
Right. Hang on.
And
First
the
of all, who are we?
15-year-old as far as adverse.
No, hold on just a second.
We
Wait,
need to consider
hi.
what
Hold on.
happens if she carries the pregnancy.
Wait a minute. I want to hear everything you're saying. Hold on one second.
Lifelong.
Okay, good. I want to hear everything you have to say. Hold on one second. Who are you?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Who are you?
Wendy.
Wendy!
Okay.
Hey, Wendy, you're calling. We had a bet that you would call. Good. Thanks for calling, Wendy. And we want your opinion on this, because you're right. You got two old farts sitting here talking about the
How many
situation.
pregnancies have you had there?
Yeah, exactly. See, none between the three of the males in here.
I was not carrying, but I had the issue come up.
But anyway, Wendy, we want your opinion. We want to know what you think.
Tee it up
I
and
think
kick
the
it one
health
more
risks
time, because
for
you were on a
15-year-old
roll
getting
and we
pregnant,
spoke
delivering
over you.
the baby are way greater for that young lady than taking the morning after pill, and they're lifelong. 18 years. I mean, you have to weigh the difference, and I think when they need to package that product, there needs to be referral hotline numbers for the young lady to call to get medical advice. That would be a conservative, realistic thing, that they should be required to have an advice nurse or referral method in place so that she can call and get referred to a public health agency, have questions answered and referred. And it should be included in the packaging when they buy it, for any woman that buys it. I don't know if the FDA is requiring that, but to me that would just be common sense to do, and something that professionally the manufacturer should do.
Right. Well, there are a couple of morning after pills. Apparently, there's a couple of differences, and this is a particular, I guess, a generic version that's being made available to the 15-year-olds and above. And I kind of missed your topic in the very beginning. You talked about the children these 15-year-olds or the younger children having babies. What was your comment on that?
The health risks,
Okay, so
teen pregnancies are considered high risk, lots of complications.
Gotcha.
You have to weigh
birth
that
weight.
against the potential side effects of the pills. And
Okay.
a 15-year-old pregnant girl with a child, that's a lifelong health risk and consequences.
Absolutely.
They're life-threatening. They have toxemia. They have all kinds of serious, carrying the child. So
Yeah.
you really have to look at it that way as well.
So let me ask you this
But it
question.
should be done responsibly with referral to local agencies to get follow-up care with or make decisions with an advice nurse of some sort, included, and that would be like a manufacturer's responsibility to provide that 800 number to call with questions and problems.
All great. One question
I'm
though.
an RN, retired, and that would be my recommendation.
What about the parent
Right.
though? At 15 years old, should the parent play a part in this or not?
Well, hopefully the counselor that they call would, try to advise her to go to her parents. But sometimes parents aren't approachable; they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't always happen.
So, in your
Get
experience,
kicked out of the house, they get pregnant and take the
Yeah.
pill.
right?
Unfortunately, I don't think we have much of a parent in the scene if she's pregnant at 15.
That's a good point.
I mean, that would be the purpose of having that 800 counseling number, to get some counseling the girl can go to and get encouraged to, resource to her aunt, her grandmother, her whoever she may have. But I think that sort of help should be included.
Yeah, I think I much prefer, with all the dangers and the risks of a young girl having a pregnancy at that age. I would hope that they're not having sex at that age, but of course that's
not realistic.
That's not
I
realistic.
certainly hope that too. But
Yeah, it's just a hope, but you're right. It's not realistic at all, and I understand that. And
ask Sarah Palin about that, okay?
I don't know Sarah.
Well,
do you have her phone
Neither
number?
do I.
I'll call her if you've got her phone number.
Well, you have issues, and one of the issues, and I've experienced this through a friend that was an immigration attorney. You can get married at 14 in Mexico.
That's true.
And sometimes, and if they come across the border and the man is found having sex with a 14 or 15-year-old, he's arrested. But it's his wife in Mexico. So I mean, there are some cases where it makes logical sense, and if women on the whole are more mature younger than men. They can think they.
Right.
They just are. The certain level of maturity is greater.
Thank God.
I don't know. I don't. But still, I mean, that is such. To be honest with you, I do think it's a reaction to, states precluding abortion, and net, folks. Anytime a woman has to terminate a pregnancy, it is not. Oh, I'll just go get the pill.
Well, with 15-year-old
I
girls,
don't think
quite
that
honestly,
is where it's at.
They are afraid to tell anyone, and I would rather have them be able to go in and get the morning after pill and do it that way. When then they wait, and then they're 3 months or 4 months pregnant, and then you're talking abortion, and it's live birth abortions.
Yeah.
To me, taking the morning after pill, if they make a mistake, is much more realistic. Their girlfriends will tell them about it, and it's hopefully and call this number. There should be follow-up, and there should be, an advice nurse to give guidance and counseling to them, provide that information. That, abstinence only doesn't work. Just look at the unplanned pregnancy rates in the Central
No, you're
Valley of
absolutely right.
California.
Abstinence doesn't work. And
the associated
Wendy,
costs with
I'm
that.
in Bakersfield, the highest teen pregnancy county in the state of California.
Well, the cost of the pills, compare that to the cost of the
Of the WIC,
of the pregnancy, the delivery, and 18 years
I mean,
of
the
age
social
development
cost
and
alone,
children.
the personal
Okay?
cost.
right. No, you're both right. And of course, you're both talking at the same time. But no, the actual cost. I mean, if we wanted to look at this in a fiscal sense, there's no doubt about it. Dollars and cents wise, as well as health wise. I don't want to really get into the dollars and cents wise because that's a whole different subject. But the health wise, that's the thing. When you're a professional, and have you dealt with this medication?
Yes, it's much safer than having a young girl carry a baby full term and try to raise the baby.
Right. Okay.
Health-wise, it is safer. The complication rates, it's safer.
How are the complication rates? Is it a pretty
I don't
safe?
have statistics in front of me, but compared to the alternatives, like an abortion or
Right.
a full-term pregnancy, much, much lower,
Well,
much safer.
Okay. So
But it
then
does need to be coupled with professional counseling.
I think that's great. I think that's a good idea, and I hope that's what will happen. And John brought up the point about also having a discussion with the pharmacist if they wish. The pharmacists today, are
very different than the pharmacists when you used to go buy a prophylactic over
Yes.
the counter.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they'll talk to you about any medication. The pharmacies are great. The computer stuff is, it caught a combination of medications that my doctor was going to give me that could have counteracted themselves, and the pharmacist
Well,
had,
Again, a 15-year-old girl isn't going to want to talk face-to-face with a pharmacist in a drugstore.
probably not.
She'll be more comfortable calling, a line.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a male pharmacist, it's a stranger. I don't
Yeah,
think that's
no,
realistic that they're going
that's
to
not gonna
talk
work.
to the pharmacist.
Yeah, you got a good point. Yeah, it wouldn't work, particularly with a male pharmacist. And I think a anonymous call line is a great idea.
It's just responsibility of the drug manufacturer because they're getting a profit from this.
That's right.
And you hate to have it. I agree with Wendy. It needs to be a real live person. And here's a job opportunity for people that care enough to give this advice and have the skill to give this advice. Geez, it kind of makes an argument for Planned Parenthood, doesn't it? But I'll just leave that there.
In California, they have county offices they can be referred to get follow-up counseling? Every county has the clinics.
Well, I agree, Wendy, but right now some of that stuff's going away. I know that part of the sequester took out. I didn't listen closely today, but it was kind of like WIC money was going to become really difficult to get. Right. So I don't know how much they'll support it on a county and state level.
Hopefully, if they do this, the 15-year-old girls won't be qualifying for WIC.
Excuse me?
WIC is women and children. We're talking about birth control.
Right.
Yeah, that's under a different program. It's federally funded, and I don't think they cut that.
Well, it would be something I would think in the sequester. I mean, I don't know what the mechanism is to get it there. You're certainly much more capable at that level. But things that, I mean, when I would think under the and I would have to do some research.
I just
for
feel
cutting Meals on Wheels and other things. I'm thinking that counseling for 15-year-olds. Yeah. That's what makes this. I think why Rob wanted to bring it up. I don't know that anybody's into supporting it on the level that you're talking about at the moment.
I think the manufacturers of whatever product it is.
Oh, they should. That goes without saying.
Having the phone referral service.
Let's see, I'm reading a little bit more on this story here just to see if there's anything that even talks about counseling, and the only thing stated has to do that research has shown that access to emergency contraceptive products has the potential to further decrease the rate of unintended pregnancies in the United States. This was the FDA Commissioner, Dr. Margaret A. Hamburg, said in the statement. The data reviewed by the agency demonstrated that women 15 years of age and older are able to understand how Plan B one-step works, how to use it properly, and that it does not prevent the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. So, according to this, there is no counseling. It's just ask for the pill and off you go.
Well, that should be included, and there should be a way for them, or at least a warning or advisement to call, and again, usually with the young girls, that way they can get the disease prevention program or referred to a place in their area where, now that they're sexually active, can give them the health education they need.
Right.
You hit a key point there. They're never going to let anybody teach us in health, at least where I do, which is crazy.
Well, certainly a young lady that is in the need of the morning after pill needs to have more sex education than she received in the home or in the school, because the program has failed her. Well, it's been nice chatting with you.
Hey, Wendy, I want to thank you very much for calling, and we really had fun on Facebook. I enjoy it.
Yes, we did.
And hopefully we'll continue and watch the show and call in. And if you have any ideas about any topic that you'd like to talk about, we're here for you.
Well, thank you. I just thought that two old guys discussing the morning after pill was kind of funny.
Yeah,
but okay.
Well, and that's why I did it. And I don't know if you caught the beginning of my show, but I asked you to call in so that we could get some other opinions on here. But thank you very much for calling.
Thank you.
See ya. Okay, so that was Wendy, and I thank you very much for calling and giving your professional advice as an RN, and I think that's what we were looking for. So we did good. I think that topic, I think we covered that topic. I don't know if anybody else wants to talk about it, but you know, one of the other things, John, you wanted to bring up Sandra Day O'Connor's comment about the what happened in Florida.
It was an interview in the 2004 election, as you well remember. George W. Bush ran against Al Gore, and the hanging chads, the recounts, I even ran a horse race, and you know, to decide, but it was George W. Bush, and I changed the names just for liability, as you well know. And the issue of it is I've read a book, and I think the title is The Nine, about the Supreme Court and the history of the Supreme Court. And this decision was monumental and tumultuous, to put the least, in the Supreme Court. And there were threats of resignation, et cetera, et cetera. And what Sandra O'Connor said, end of last week, I think it was, or the beginning of this week, was that now that she's off the bench, she's reconsidering a lot of things. And in the Gore v. Bush, or Bush v. Gore, what she stated is that she thinks that maybe the Supreme Court acted too quickly. And personally, that's what I felt. What makes that interesting to throw into the mix is that the Florida Supreme Court was appointed by a Democratic governor, or he had made more appointments to that.
Right.
The federal Supreme Court had most of its appointments by his father,
Right.
George Herbert Walker Bush. Therefore, it was, and that was one of the reasons why Florida was not done in due process, and that's basically what she suggested this week. She also suggested that she did not like the vote on Citizens United. And Sandra Day sat on the court. Was she the first woman justice? I think she was. And she sat on the court for 30 years. A very interesting woman. And part of something I ask people that are watching to do, spend some time, read some books, listen to some books. I mean, we all do that now, and it's such a wonderful way to consume while you're driving, so it's not just downtime, about the Supreme Court. Because it is, in many ways, one of the more misunderstood third arm of our checks and balances. And I think across the board everybody would agree that where we're at right now is difficult as it sounds, but not nuts. We have to start looking at the way that we're doing things, because it's not working well on any level. So O'Connor coming out and saying, that 2004 we probably overstepped and shouldn't have moved it to the court. The court should have refused to have heard it, is what she said.
Okay. Well, I mean, now that she's not on the bench, she's able to voice opinions, and without looking up the exact count and how it was reported out, because I can't remember.
Oh, it was a split. It was split.
Yeah. Was it?
Oh, yeah. It was not a unanimous decision by any stretch of the imagination.
And what side she went on?
Oh no, she voted it for it.
Okay.
She was a Bush.
So this is somewhat of a regret then at this point for her.
It's Monday morning quarterbacking,
Yeah.
but from somebody, I think that, because it's so, and that's why it was so tumultuous. It so politicized the court. I mean, they chose the president.
Yeah.
After 20 days, enough is enough. Let's give it to the Supremes and let them decide. And you look at the Constitution, and it allows for such things. It never really came up. We have over time come up with some mechanisms to handle these situations. But the fact of the matter was, you never think that you're not going to have a clear decision in modern times. To me, it more brings up, do we federalize the federal election?
Well, that's
we had an election today because it was the second Tuesday after the first whatever of the month, and what it brings about, and not to take away from the fact that she's Monday morning quarterbacking, but I hold justices in pretty high esteem, although there are some that have not been. But the issue is, it does bring up this issue that we've had on a federal court level or on a federal election level. Popular vote, electoral college. We
Right.
talked about this on election night.
Right.
But the fact that, you ask people to go vote on a Tuesday. In Australia, it's a weekend. It's a
Right.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Right. We talked about that in election time. Yeah. I don't.
But
I personally don't know if a day of the week makes a difference. It's been Tuesday forever, and
no, what I mean is it's inconvenient. It's patently inconvenient. And other countries have adjusted theirs to make it convenient to get as many people an opportunity to go vote.
well,
Multiple
it'd be
days
interesting.
and
It'd be interesting to see some statistics to back that up. Because everybody will have a problem with one day of the week. Wouldn't matter if it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. It wouldn't matter. That
Well, but no, it's a 3-day process. You can vote Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 3 days, and it's the weekend, and you don't have work. And granted, some people are always going to get, some people are going to die that day.
I could see a 3-day election situation strife with. We got a caller. Let's grab our caller. Have the caller come on. Hi, it's Rob and John. Who do we have?
Hi, it's Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. So, this is kind of off topic, and I don't know if you've mentioned it yet. I just wanted to wish you and Mom a happy anniversary.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, at the top of the show, I mentioned I don't know how Mom has put up with me for 37 years, and I love her to death. And thank you, Mom.
Nor do I.
And John agreed. All right, thanks, Heather.
Well, I love you.
Love you, too. Thanks for calling.
I love you too, John. And John.
Nothing. Yeah. I'm
Bye.
down with it, When you look like this, it's hard to get people to say that.
Okay, talk to you later. Okay.
That's why I wear sunglasses and funny hats.
Yeah, that's right. You did, too. It was really sweet. I think the kids first... I'm trying to remember.
That is so sweet. What happened to Jonathan?
I don't know. I had this vision. I think when the kids first met you, you were at Cal Expo Harness Racing, and we went to the fair, and you came up, and of course, your nice Hawaiian shirt, your round sunglasses, your sombrero on, and it was like the kids are going, "Who the hell's this guy?"
What's that?
Yeah.
You know that? Come on. I am everybody's worst uncle.
Yeah.
Everybody has a purpose. I'll be the guy that goes, drive fast, take chances.
Yeah, right. So, anyway, so you bring up a good point, and we were talking about some countries having multiple days for voting. That's a very interesting concept, and
well, we have early voting, and we do have multiple day voting in some states.
In some states, I just see it rife with people stuffing ballot boxes and things, but.
Oh, yeah, but here's the other thing, and here's the deal. A federal election is administered on a state level.
Yes.
I mean, every state is different.
Right.
Some states are electronic, some states are paper, some states are both, some states are, and every time we have a national election, it comes up and goes, we really ought to do something about this. But we are a federation, so the states run elections. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Yep.
Sandra, it'll be interesting to see what O'Connor says over time. I mean, is she going to dob in from time to time? She is an amazing woman. Her accomplishments are.
She would have to be.
Anyone, and at the end of the day, and I don't want to get off into Obama stuff, but really, folks, when you get to the executive level, and I will say to the executive level, in other words, you're a governor, I can't say that because it just came across my mind. I was going to give them all credit for being intelligent, and then I thought of Rob Blagojevich that's in jail for being the governor of Illinois and trying to make a little on Obama's chair. So, and he's not a smart guy. That guy's not a smart guy.
Obviously not.
But he's got great hair. He's really got great hair.
Okay, so we did Sandra Day. It'll be interesting. Maybe I'll try to add that to my reading list.
I'm gonna, again, everybody, keep an eye on the court. It's a very important part of what goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. An awful lot of our Constitution hinges on whatever decision they decide to make an interpretation of.
They're the constitutional, unconstitutional, and I, in doing this, I mean, I'm a big court guy. I'm an Earl because I live in Bakersfield. I'm an Earl Warren freak. I've read his autobiography and 8 different biographies of him. And nowhere in the biographies, and I was doing something else, I forgot about the Impeach Earl Warren billboards, which showed up long before Impeach Rose Byrd in the California Supreme Court.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Warren, there is no civil rights without Warren. Just that to say. So keep an eye on the court. The court's very important.
Very, very important. We should all watch what happens, and whatever little part we can play when the next appointment is made. I'm sure it'll be done within the next 3 years.
Oh, well, unfortunately, Ginsburg's not gonna. She's had pancreatic cancer, or there are some people that are gonna go.
It'll be interesting to see who Obama puts on the list and how the vetting process works. If we're actually honest with it, and it turns out like it should. So we'll keep an eye on it. So keep an eye on the Supreme Court. Third topic of the evening, Cuban-American lawmakers press the White House to keep Cuba on the terror list.
Go ahead, Rob.
God bless the Cuban community there in Florida and in other states. You guys are great. I love your music. I love your food. You've got a wonderful culture. But I think
the rum's not bad either.
Yeah, cigars are even better. But
I have been there. I've been there by the way of Cancun.
Oh, I got my one Cuban cigar I got to smoke when I was in Canada, which was totally legal. Very nice.
A Cuban in Cuba is really legal.
Yeah, Cuban in Cuba is really. I haven't been to Cuba, but I think it's time. I understand all what went on and all the strife and the reason why everybody escaped out of Cuba to come to the United States, and they've done a wonderful job of making a new home. But I think it's time to welcome Cuba back into the fold. I think for their people. I don't care about the leaders, but I think for their people, I think it's time.
Raul's going to step down 2014, 2015. I mean, the
Right.
Castros are saying they're going to no longer be active.
Right. It's time. Don't you think it's beyond their scope anymore? The days of the communism regime and the way Castro ran it in the beginning, it's all changed. I mean, they're slowly moving democratic, all on their own. Just like China, Jonathan says. But
China is that capitalist economy with a communist government, which is
my opinion is, let's welcome them in. Let's open up trade. Let's start vacationing over in Cuba. Let's help them. I think it'll open up everything. I must be wrong somewhere, because even Obama seems to want to keep them on the.
Well, there are a couple of things. Number one, and I told you about this. I was teaching a class and the Spanish-American War came up, and the Maine, and I said to the students, Spanish-American War, Vietnam War, Gulf of Tonkin, WMD, and I said,
wars.
We have been misled from the truth more than once. And it really has spurred me. I am in the process of doing a great deal of research as to why we never just annexed Cuba. And Guantanamo Bay is becoming an issue, which is on the island of Cuba, people. That's where it's located. I'm with you. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And on top of it, one of the reasons I'm done with it is that I was asked to do a presentation on the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I could only find a video of 3.29 seconds. Or a minute 30. Ladies and gentlemen, this took up the entire month of October in 1962, and was the closest we ever came to going to real, honest-to-God thermonuclear war, at least that we knew about. And we have had an embargo on those people since the 60s. You want to buy some really neat 50s automobiles?
Yeah.
Go to Cuba. And, part of this also comes to that Marco Rubio has a very tainted backstory. Because first his parents got out and got away from the revolution. His parents left the island before it ever happened. The Cuban, and I think in the long run, part of what is in this is, and having done Spanish language radio and having live in a community that's over 50% Hispanic surname, that Rubio plays in this in many ways, and the Cuban community in Florida is very Republican, and they distinctly hate. There were the boat people. It was awful in the 60s, and they don't want to so much forgive and forget. But I think as a country, it's time. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Let's go to Cuba.
Let's go to Cuba. Let's have a good time.
Hey, I'm telling you, I had one of the best times of my life in Havana.
Well,
Ye God, man. Great music, great people, great food. Ay, kabumba. It was a great time. I would go back again in an instant if offered.
yeah,
And,
absolutely.
It's that ridiculously poor that, but that's the way it is in the Caribe anyway. They're poor in their own way, but I mean Jamaica, the people are not rich people, but they are wealthy in culture and food and spirit. So,
well, what I'd like to really know, and Rubio's a whole different situation, but what I'd really like to know is, in one of the lines, one of the representatives talking about this was a letter urging the State Department to retain Cuba alongside Iran, Syria, and the Sudan. And trying to figure out what threat at this stage does Cuba have to our security?
I can just tell you, as being an American that was in Cuba, I certainly felt no hostility from the Cuban people.
I wouldn't.
Could they have people that were radical? Sure, everybody does.
I'm sure
But I
they've
don't
got
think there are
spies.
any-
I'm sure they've got. But I'm trying to figure out the little island.
Why
of
didn't we
Cuba.
have Chechnya? Why wasn't Chechnya on the terrorist list?
Yeah.
Oh, and I got to tell you, Ann Coulter did stupid as wait, no benefits to immigrants, and they keep. I mean, and I got to tell you, on the conservative side, because of the Boston Marathon deal, these kids, this family, were admitted to the United States under asylum, and they are U.S. citizens.
Yes, they are.
So they, if they got something, food stamps or whatever else, no. These were naturalized U.S. citizens. They're entitled to whatever they get, just like anybody else.
Well, they had a pretty nice ride at Dartmouth. Folks, if you don't know, one of the top universities in the country, Dartmouth. It's kind of like, okay, I would have liked to have had that.
Ivy League, Dartmouth's definitely,
It's like number one. It's right there. Dartmouth, Harvard, Brown.
Yale, Princeton, all those.
Yeah.
If you can get in here, you're set for a life school.
You got that
Pretty
right.
much.
And these knuckleheads do this crap.
Knuckleheads? There are knuckleheads here?
Yeah, knuckleheads.
Ain't no knuckleheads over there, brother. I'm telling you.
I don't know. That whole Boston thing is just. It's like they're drinking the Kool-Aid or something. I just can't figure it out. They want to be in this country. They wanted to become citizens. They wanted to be assimilated. And yet, now they want to become terrorists?
Well, and I can't pronounce
Justify
names,
that.
right?
I guarantee. Come on, let's hear you justify that.
Oh, well, but I mean, it is true. I mean, and he left the country for 6 months.
Yes.
Now evidence supposedly is coming out. The Russians said, well, we wiretapped him. He was pretty radical.
Yes.
And we're going, why didn't he tell us that? At the same time, it's another one of these deals. It appears that the FBI dropped the ball.
Yeah.
He was being
Supposedly,
watched, but they
the
didn't follow
Russians did tip us off that something was going on with his kids. what was interesting too is I only heard part of the news today on the story, but they were talking about his roommates or ex-roommates.
They picked up two more. They picked up two more
because they initially thought this guy was just kidding. They didn't. That's what they're saying. Now they may be saying that to try to save their own skin. I don't know, but they were showing texts of messages between these two kids, the two brothers, and these other guys, and they looked like kids just goofing around. And
you remember the movie War Games?
Yeah.
Just kids fooling
just
around.
Kids. Yeah. I don't know.
These kids had an evil bent. I won't go into the character assassination or evaluation in either one of them, and that of the survivor, they're showing pictures when he was a bit younger and more innocent in the press.
Right.
I don't know what he looks like now, and at the end of the day, I don't really care.
Well, I saw the pictures that were. You know what's really interesting about the story too? The other backstory on this is the ability of all the closed circuit television cameras that are all around there. The ability to pick these guys out. I think it was a little Big Brotherish to me. I went, oh wow. So you know.
I don't know if you take part in it, and I don't watch on a regular basis when I'm hanging out with people that watch network TV. I watch it. There's a show on CBS called Persons of Interest.
Oh, I love that show.
It's extremely well written. Yep. And I mean, look, folks, on the streets of London, you're never alone.
No, you're right.
And I'm sure in Sydney and in other places, and it's like somebody said, we didn't think 1984 was going to look exactly like this, but it's starting to look like this, and it's been starting to look like this for 40 years. Would you say? Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. Yeah, I think so. I think that does drive home. It's a two-sided coin, right? On one side, you want them there watching and helping to protect and doing all that thing. On the other hand, you go, I don't know that I really want them to know where I'm at all the time. And it's
go ahead, finish, please.
Yeah, and then it's like, look at your cell phone. I don't think there's a cell phone made now that doesn't have a GPS built into it.
No.
Yeah, everyone's got a GPS.
They don't need the GPS, though. They can triangulate on your cell phone.
Well, and then Jonathan just brought up a good point, too. They also can triangulate off the cell towers your location even without the GPS chip.
He watches too many cop shows. That's right.
He's right. No, he's right. So the fact is, everybody that's got a cell phone, you can be traced at any time. And
and then again, it saved people's lives.
It does.
That were stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and that GPS signal was there.
Right.
Here's the issue, and we touched on this a couple of times, and it's just my opinion, and it's very counter your opinion. I treasure my Fourth Amendment right to privacy. If I had a favorite amendment, that would be it. That I have the right to privacy. I mean, freedom to me is.
Why is that different than mine? I'm a big Fourth.
Well, but the difference, the reason why I make that difference, whereas at least as of late, and not meant as criticism, it's all been about the Second Amendment. To me, I feel I mean, and I see your second reaction that they've already hacked us apart on the Fourth. Now they're coming after the Second. Let's stop this now before they go too far. But I am I just think conceptually that the right to privacy is key to freedom. And if I have my right to privacy, I can have my guns. And as Tom brought up, I can also do something illegal. But it's like Tower Power said, it's not the crime, it's whether you get caught. And probably anybody watching, listening, or presenting on this program has done something illegal at some time. Okay? But right to privacy, that the cops can't be everywhere, that there aren't cameras on every street corner, that they're not, that they don't have a radio transmitter on your PG&E or SMUD box. No, that's my house. Just like if somebody comes through your front door with a gun, they're a dead body. Well, you don't have the right to transmit. Well, but it saves us money, and our dog doesn't, it used to be labor intensive. You had meter readers. Now you have, and folks, look at your smart meter. It's got an FCC license number on it. It's a transmitter.
Also, your water, every water meter has a transmitter on it now, too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, because they want the data. Yeah. And we've discussed this before. It is a data-intensive life that we live in. Yeah. And it's obvious, and maybe not correct at the end of the day, that we have amazing ability to crunch numbers. And out of those numbers, we can discern trends. There's all kinds of things that people have built formula and can tell us a whole lot about you.
Well, the other issue that I wish everybody would go out and read is read the Patriot Act, because it removes. It's scary as hell. There is no Fourth Amendment. The Patriot Act took the Fourth Amendment away. There's no need for warrants. They can, they can do just about anything they want. They can look at your computer and get into your computer without a warrant. They can do the same thing with their cell phones. I mean, literally, there is no Fourth Amendment if they want to, and they have played the card, I guarantee you, multiple times on the Patriot Act, if they want to enforce that.
You have the right to privacy in your paper and letters, which means that, and I think part of it is that we have desensitized socially. What kids are, I had a kid, a friend of mine, drag racer, got licensed to spread some noxious agricultural poison.
Right.
But it's big money, and it's a big deal, and you have to pass a qualifying exam, etc.
Sure.
And he posted the letter with his address on Facebook.
Yeah.
And my only comment was, I don't know that I would have put that much information there.
My suggestion to everybody with Facebook, hold on, Jonathan, he's got a point too. My suggestion is you do not put your personalized information, your address, nor your social security number, your driver's license number, or your date of birth on Facebook. And John's got a point.
I actually have my date of birth there. I don't care. Go ahead, Jonathan.
So Jonathan's bringing up a point that it's a felony to go through somebody's mail, USPS mail, but it's not a felony to go through anybody's email.
You don't have digital privacy.
Yeah, there is no digital privacy. Well, that's part of what the Patriot Act brought in.
But if you get rid of the post office, that thing about having privacy in your mail is down the tubes.
Yeah,
and privatization, in other words, taking the post office, taking the utility company, taking the water company, and privatizing them. All right? And people being entrepreneurs, capitalists, and whatever, and they by virtue of the transaction of their business, have access to your personal information. And how many times do we hear about, oh, God, they got hacked?
Right.
Right, so they're holding the dope on you. And just being a marketing guy, and in essence a paranoid conspiracy theorist, not too far under the surface. I had a young man say to me, gosh, won't it be great when Google will be able to tell you which way to drive to work because they know what time you... And I'm going, you want to tell them that? I want to tell them as much as I need to do business with them.
We're in it. The people coming up behind us, John, have lived and were born into this technology, and they don't see what you and I see as far as the privacy.
No.
They don't understand it.
I mean, they don't. It's a different point of view.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, it wholly and entirely is. And folks, and I'm not abdicating responsibility. It's their world. In the case of me being 60 years old, I certainly haven't thrown in the towel. I got a lot more to do. But the things that my plans encompass is to help those that are inheriting this great country and this world to know a little bit more about maybe making some wise decisions.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you've decided to help educate these kids about history. I know a lot of kids, they poo-poo, oh, history, it's old stuff. We don't need to know about that. We don't care about what happened when, but it's probably one of the most important things that you can spend your time reading and learning about. So we don't repeat what we did wrong. Read your history, learn your history, and it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. History, it's got so much stuff. You think the spy novels are great? Go read some history. Go read some history.
Just Hamilton and Jefferson.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Jefferson, folks, and you can. And here's something. I love American history, and I love the founding fathers, and we are the luckiest. I mean, talk about a serendipity.
Oh, absolutely.
Of and that they lived into their 80s, and unbelievable. But Jefferson, who is often vaunted, I have many arguments I would have with Jefferson.
Oh, sure.
Many at length arguments I would have with Jefferson.
There were some great points from Jefferson and some not so great points of Jefferson. I mean, he was an oxymoron unto himself.
Aaron Burr was a close confidant of Jefferson.
Yeah, but
kind of
at least us teach a history class here. But guys, really spend time. And we got a great big whopping 5 viewers right now, so we haven't done.
That's up from 2.
That's up from 2. So
thank you all.
But it's growing, and gosh, I really hope we start getting more audience, because I think some of the things that we have to bring is what you're not hearing on CNN or Fox News or whatever. We're talking about other stuff as a couple of guys that have lived 60 years and
50 of that knowing one another.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much.
and the point is,
going to be pissed off at Rob. It was going to happen a long time ago.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Same kind of thing.
And that's what's been neat. Our dynamics is because we do go so far back, and we've done so much, and it's fun, and it's great, and I really like to bring things up. Every week I look through a bunch of topics, and I send out an email and say, hey, this is some of the things that we might talk about. Nothing's cast in stone. And if you have an idea out there, send me an email and say, hey, why don't you guys talk about this, or or jump in on the phone like Wendy did and give us some help on these discussions. And, because we've got all kinds of things we could continue talking about. I mean, we went from the morning after pill to Cuba to all over the world right now. And, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the internet sales tax bill that's going on too, and
we have not enough time, but enough time it's open.
We're just going to touch it again. We did a little bit last week, but I think it's really important that everybody take a look at the fact that what grew the internet and internet sales as quickly and made available to you products and literature and music and all these things, and let's not stifle it.
No, it is it is the creative outlet of. I mean. Yeah, just like we were talking about, the eBay was originally the people's marketplace.
Right.
Now it's eBay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if that's the government. I mean, I'm beginning, and here's a core of a conversation that I'd like to have at length. I'm beginning to think just because you have the technology doesn't mean you have to use it.
Mm. Well, that's been brought up under many things. You're right. Just because you have it, you don't have to use it.
I also think on this online sales tax.
Yep.
I love not paying sales tax online. Believe me, just like everybody else. If it does have them, and I'm doing some more research on that, and hopefully we'll revisit this. I do think if you're going to do it, you have to make it an ad valorem sales tax, same amount, and it has to go, as much as we all hate this, into a federal pot and then be redistributed. There's no way that you could do it on independent. I mean, because in Los Angeles, every different incorporated city, Santa Monica, Culver City, Long Beach, Torrance, Hawthorne, Gardena, all have different sales taxes.
Right. Yep. Yeah. No, we got it. It's still up here in Sacramento, between Sacramento and Rancho Cordova and Placerville and El Dorado Hills and Folsom, and there's a different rate everywhere you go.
And speaking about Sacramento, I got to throw this in because we listed this. Here's a little ditty on the Kings.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about Kevin Johnson. And it's also about the fact that Kevin Johnson and the city of Sacramento have bent over backwards. I mean, they increased their parking lot fees to garner money. I lived in Sacramento for 12 years, and if the gods be willing, I'll be back there soon. But Sacramento has done things for the Maloof family, and you know, the Kings now have the lowest payroll of any team in the league. The Maloofs are scum, and they got to go. And if you keep your basketball team, which you know, I read some articles on this, and the NBA likes having a basketball team in the state capital.
That's right. The commission came out and said they do not want the Kings to move.
Right. And it's a smaller media market. It's not, the money isn't, God, it's depressed. I mean, from Bakersfield to Sacramento, the economy sucks. It still does. It's not getting better quick. Believe me, I live here. But there is something about having that connection in California, and that it's, and even though I know you don't care for it, and you're within in the ADI, the area of dominant influence. It is the state capital of California, and stuff goes on there. Deals are made, big deals.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're down to the 6th largest economy in the world, but
gee, still in this depressed, yeah. No, I know. I hope the Kings stay. I really do. I
hope they become a team again. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But then again, I was okay with them when they outlawed the cowbells. That got a little crazy.
If you've ever been in Arco Arena, excuse me, it's not called Arco anymore. It's what is it now, Jonathan?
It's Sleep Train.
That's right, because it went from Power Balance to Sleep Train. So it's Sleep Train Arena. It's very loud in there.
Well, and the thing is, folks, if you ever go there, Arco Arena, many years ago when I was there, was like a really nice, big high school gym.
Yeah,
you
that's about what it was.
You had wooden risers. You did have luxury suites. They weren't
great, but they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, a nice arena.
We paid $27,000 for one of them for a Lakers-Kings playoff game.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, it would be. The biggest worry, of course, is how they're going to fund a new arena, and that's what a lot of this hedges on. And I am not particularly in favor of government paying for arenas, but it would be interesting to see. We've got some whales out there with some very big dollars.
And there had even been rumors that the NBA was willing to spend money to keep the team in Sacramento.
Right. That
they had money for the arena. I don't like the location, and I would just tell you that the downtown rail yards, we have the river rats, the river,
right.
the river cats,
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yep.
AA, AAA baseball team, and a beautiful new stadium.
It's a nice little park.
It's wonderful. Been to many a game there. The idiots that were promoting concerts there, unfortunately, were idiots and are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
But having experience with the Sacramento Jazz Jubilee, which is now the Sacramento Music Festival on Memorial Day weekend, and everybody come, Los Lobos and James Taylor and Carly Simon's son, who's lots of things. Anyway, I'll remember. Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks.
Oh, yes.
I'm showing up for that. All at the Sacramento Music Festival. It's all downtown.
Yeah.
But I just remember the parking problems that we had when downtown was just one venue.
Yeah, it's
it gets very congested after a River Cats game to try and get out of the park and get back on the freeway.
Yeah,
the state's gonna have to spend some money too, or they're gonna have to make some Caltrans.
Yeah, there's definitely going to have to make some transportation decisions about where they're going to put this arena, and not just make a quick plan and plop it in there. And I don't know, that plan is such a moving target about where the arena is going to go. It seems to change monthly, and so we'll see what happens as it goes on. But hey, buddy, you know what? We've done an hour, And
I want to thank Wendy for calling. I want to
double
thank Heather
Wendy
for calling.
Yeah, Wendy and Heather and Paula, thank you again for 37 wonderful years. I appreciate that. And hey, folks, the 4 that are still on now, know any friends, get them to watch. We need more people. Thank you for watching, and thanks for having a great time. John, thanks for doing what we do, and we will see everybody next week.
Out of here.